Well, here we are on the couch again. It's one of my favorite places to talk to you, and I hope that it's one of your favorite places to listen to me. Today, I want to talk about scams. And I want to start by saying that I thought about originally titling this video Mexican Scams, and I had an objection to that title. I titled it Scams in Mexico because they're not Mexican scams. They're scams that happen in Mexico, but they could happen anywhere in the world. I love Mexico and I love the Mexican people, and all of the Mexican people that I know well are hardworking, honest people. So I don't want you to think of these scams as Mexican scams. Certainly they'll happen to you in Mexico, but it's not because it's Mexico, it's because they're scams and they happen anywhere in the world. So let's talk about scams in Mexico. The first one is called the 500 and the 50. So here's how it works. And it actually happened to me. It happened to me at the Pemex station in Las Mochas with my old Southwind motorhome.
Please enjoy my stories or whatever else might be on my mind today.
The Southwind took a lot of gas, and I was at the Pemex station, and my bill was like 1,200 pesos. So I gave the guy 2 of these and a 200, which is green. And as I did that, the kid who had washed my windshield that I had already given 10 pesos to jerked on my elbow, and I turned, and he said I needed to pay his friend also. And I said, no, I'm not paying your friend, I paid you. And I turned back here, and the guy is holding 2 of these and the green one. And he says, you gave me a 50 instead of a 500. Well, I argued with him, and I didn't prevail. He didn't convince me, but I gave him another 500. So, and he gave me the 50 back, so it cost me an extra 450 pesos. I knew that I had been scammed, but there was nothing I could do about it at the time. Having heard that happens during that year that I spent in Mexico, I was prepared for him the next year, and he tried the same thing, the same guy in the same gas station, and I went buck on him. I just started yelling and screaming and told him he did it to me the year before, and I'm yelling. I went in the OXXO, that's like the little convenience store there, and I'm yelling about it in there. Everybody in the whole damn county knew what happened, and he gave me my money back. Anyway, that's called the 500 and the 50 scam. Another one, I first learned about this scam at an OXXO. That's OXXO, and it's like a 7-Eleven. I asked a Mexican when I was first down here one time, I said, how do you pronounce OXXO? And he said, we usually say 7-Eleven. That's the same guy. His name was Luis, and I met him in a restaurant, kind of elbow to elbow at tables in a restaurant, and started talking to him. And he spoke English very well, and I tried to say something to him in Spanish, and he looked me right in the eye and he said, have you tried French? Anyway, efectivo is the name for the cash that you give to the person at the cash register. And here's how it works. I went into the OXXO right by the airport in Guadalajara, and I bought a Coca-Cola and a small bag of chips. And the bill was like 36 pesos or something. And I gave him a 50 peso note, one of these. And he rung it up, and one of the things that you do, they all have little printouts on the cash register that shows you how much change you get. The word in Spanish is cambio. So you look there to see how much cambio you got coming, and it says a number, and he hands you the change, and they never count out change for you. They just give it to you in a pile. So he gave it to me in a pile. I walked out, and I'm looking at that. I'm thinking that's not quite enough change. I should have another 10 pesos. And I looked at my receipt, and the efectivo, it's printed on there, the word efectivo, how much cash you gave him, says 40 pesos, not 50 pesos. So what he did was, I gave him 50 pesos. He punched in 40 pesos on the cash register. I look at the thing, and it says I'm supposed to get that much change because 40 from the 36 or whatever, there's a couple of coins, and it matches. It matches what it says on the cash register for how much change I'm supposed to get. Well, I figured out that he put in the wrong amount that I gave him. So I suppose at the end of the day, he remembers how many 10 pesos he has and takes it out of the cash register, and then the cash register for the evening count matches what the register tape says. I used to be a cashier at a little grocery store a long time ago when I was a teenager, and that's what we did. At the end of the day, you match up the machine to the money in the drawer. Well, it all matches if you put in the wrong thing to the computer. Okay, so the next time it happened, I was ready. There's a big box store in Mexico. I'm not going to say the name of it. It's not Costco, and it's not Walmart. It's never happened to me at those two places. I bought some ice cream. It's about 120 pesos. I gave him a 500 peso note. I walked out, and as I'm leaving the store, I realized that he has put in 400 for efectivo and not 500. I walk right back in there. I don't say a word. I walk right into the booth with him while he's ringing up the groceries on the conveyor belt for the next customer. And I put it right in front of his face, and without a word, he turns, he opens up the cash register and hands me 100 pesos, and I walk out. Well, my conclusion is he knew exactly what happened, and I was scammed. It wasn't a mistake. There's another one that gets passed off as a mistake quite often. You'll be in a store, small store, and it's a young girl who has a low-cut neck or blouse. And the minute, as an old guy like me, you focus on the cleavage, it's going to cost you 10 pesos. And again, they don't hand you your change, they just give it to you in a big bundle and drop it in your hand. I know this happens, and it's happened to me many times. Don't take that to mean that I've focused on the cleavage many times. But hey, I'm a man, I take a look now and then. It costs you 10 pesos. And my solution to that has been to pretend like I drop it all over the counter and then count it as I'm picking it up. The deal is that those young teenage girls think that we're old and slow. And so far, we're just old. Another one happened to me at the post office. My wife dropped her Kindle, and it got a line across the screen. And I called up Amazon, and I said, my Kindle has a line across the screen. And they said, did you drop it? And I very honestly replied, no, I didn't drop it. And they sent me a new one. Amazingly, from somewhere in Pennsylvania, it took 3 days to get a brand new one here in Ajijic at a place we used to have called Mailboxes, etc. It's not here anymore. There's a different one called, I don't know, Handy Mail or something like that. But anyway, it works the same way. You get FedEx and UPS packages there. And FedEx and UPS, by the way, delivers to the house here. So in case you were wondering about that. I had this. It's my gimbal for my phone, delivered a couple of weeks ago by FedEx right here at my house from Amazon. Anyway, they send me one, and the deal with Amazon is they gave me a $35 credit for shipping the old one back to them in the same box. And I took the packaged old one back to Mailboxes Inc., and I said, I need to ship this to Pennsylvania. I have 45 days, or they charge my credit card for the new Kindle. If I don't send them the old one back, that's how it works. And the guy says, okay, it will be, and it was about $70. And I said, I'm not paying $70. They only gave me $35. And I don't want to do that. So I go to the post office. And the guy at the post office says it's going to be 52 pesos, which at the time was like $4 with the exchange rate. And that's with a tracking date guaranteed in 15 days. A tracking number guaranteed in 15 days. So I said, fantastic, here, let's mail it. And he said, no, you need a copy of your passport and a copy of your utility bill before we can mail a package for you. That's at the post office here in Ajijic. Apparently the cartel wants to know how to find you if you get caught mailing drugs. I don't know. Anyway, I go back the next day with my copies of my passport and my utility bill to mail a package at the local post office. And it's a different guy, and I give him my package, and it's all addressed and everything, and he holds up a calculator after he puts in the number 150 and just shows it to me. He doesn't say anything. It's like I wouldn't understand him if he talked to me in Spanish, which I would have. And I say to him in my best Spanglish that, no, your buddy yesterday said it was 52 pesos. And I happen to notice the day before that there's a chart on the wall that shows, if it weighs this much, it's this much, and so on. It was 52 pesos. Without a word, he sets the calculator down, picks up my package, puts it on the scale, which automatically prints out the 52 peso sticker, which he sticks on to the package. No words spoken yet. I give him a 100 peso note, and he says he doesn't have change at the post office. And I tell him, that's okay, just keep the change. Because I know if I make a stink, he is going to throw my package in the corner. It's not going to get there in 15 days. And Amazon is going to charge me $100 and some for a new Kindle. So, it cost me $8 instead of $70. But I almost got scammed at the post office. What was another one? Oh, I'm up in the States and Lynn is at home, and I get this frantic phone call that says my neighbor is in France and his billfold has been stolen, and they won't let him check out of the hotel to get to his airplane connection unless he pays the hotel bill, and he needs me to wire him some money. Well, that was an email that Lynn got. And I immediately know that the neighbor, who is a retired doctor, I'm going to be the last guy he asks for money. That just is not a possibility that this guy calls me and asks me for money. He didn't need my money. Anyway, that's a scam that happens on the internet. There's one that happens here in Mexico that you read about occasionally in the paper. There are gullible and vulnerable people in an aged, retired population. And so this does occasionally work. a guy will call and say that he's a relative, and then it works its way through to being a scam for money. So it finally happened here at my house. I came home and Lynn said, "Hey, your nephew Pat called." And I said, "Wow, what's going on?" She said, "Well, he's at the airport and he's going to come and see us." I said, "What's he doing at the airport?" She said, "I think he was at a wedding or something." Okay, so I'm thinking there is no way that my nephew from New York has come to Mexico without talking to me or by emailing me or something first. It would not happen. So already I'm knowing there's something here that's not kosher. So anyway, the guy's supposed to call back and get the directions on how to get to the house from me because Lynn didn't feel competent to give our nephew Pat the directions. So the guy calls and I ask him some questions like, "Hey, what are you doing in Mexico?" And he said, "Well, I went to a wedding in Puerto Vallarta and our connection is here in Guadalajara and I've got about 6-hour layover here. And so I've rented a car and I'm going to come down to your house, but you need to tell me how to get there." Well, now it's confirmed because my nephew has been here a couple of times and he wouldn't have any problem driving here. So I decide I'm going to play with the guy. I tell him, "Well, why don't you just go to the local Walmart, which is easy to find. You come down the highway from the airport in Guadalajara, come on the Libramento, and right at the end of the Libramento is the Walmart. You can't miss it, and I'll meet you at the Walmart." Okay, fine. So I wait about, 30, 40 minutes, and he calls again, and he says, "Uncle Jerry," and he's gotten my name from Lynn and everything. It's just, these guys are good at this, They can get some information, just enough information to make it sound like they know you. Anyway, "Uncle Jerry, I've had a little fender bender here, and I need some cash to pay the guy for the dent in his car. Can I send, there's another guy here that'll help me. Can I send this guy down there to get $500 from you?" I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem. Just tell him to meet me at the Walmart." So I wait a while. I get a call from a different guy. He says, "I'm at the Walmart." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I'll be right there, but I have to go to the bank first to get the money." Okay. So I wait a while. About half an hour later, he calls again. Says, "Are you on your way?" I said, "You know what? I get money out of the ATM, and the ATM was out of money. So I have to go over to this other town. It's about 6 or 8 kilometers away to a different bank to get the money. You want to meet me over there?" "Sure." It's okay. So I told him how to get to the bank in the other town. I never heard from him again. End of that story. I love playing with those guys. Had a satellite dish on playing with those guys. I'm off of scams. I guess I'm not off of scams. I put an ad on Craigslist up in Yuma for a satellite dish on top of my motorhome. And it was a very good price. And I just wanted to get it off of there to make more room for solar panels up on my roof, and I have a little dome for Dish Network anyway. But anyway, adding to Craigslist, and the guy calls and he says, "Hey, I want your satellite dish, and I'm going to send you a cashier's check." Well, I'm well aware of the cashier's check scam. They send you a cashier's check, which isn't a real cashier's check, but it's always for a little bit more than it's supposed to be, so you got to wire them back the difference. Like they're buying something for $200, and they send you a $300 cashier's check. You put it in your bank, you wire them $100 back, and then 8 days later, your bank tells you it's a fake cashier's check. That's how it works. So, anyway, long story short, the price that I advertised was $400. And I got this guy up to $900 running an auction with him online. I said, well, this other guy called and said he'd give me some more money. Would you pay more? And I finally lost him. It was obvious that English wasn't his first language. I don't know what country he was from. I lost him when I asked him if he also wanted to buy my refrigerator. Scams. Let me see if I got another one here. I made a list of them so I can remember them. Oh, a couple more. These haven't happened to me, and they wouldn't happen to me because as soon as they started to happen to me, I know what was going on. One of them is called the bird crap. So they get some mayonnaise or something slapped onto your shoulder somehow, or they squirt it on there or something, and they're helping you wipe it off, and they're picking your pocket. Speaking of pickpockets, I saw this on TV in the subways in New York. The pickpockets hang up a sign, and the sign says, "Beware of pickpockets." And everybody that walks past checks where their wallet is. Flat tire. This happens up here at some of the malls in Guadalajara. Read about it in the paper. You'll come out of the mall and you'll have a flat tire, and people are there willing to give you a hand changing your flat tire. And while they are helping you with your flat tire, somebody else is cleaning out your car. Could be your suitcases, could be your purse, could be your camera, could be whatever. So the flat tire scam and the bird crap scam. Well, I don't want to make this video too long, and you probably notice I get sidetracked when I'm talking about these things, but hope you enjoyed what was on my mind today.
Hey, if you like me, give me one of those thumbs up. And please subscribe and hit that little bell so you know when I post next. Please share me with your friends on social media. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed what was on my mind today.